Welcome everyone to Caleb Watches Movies, the channel where I, Caleb, randomly select one of the many movies that I own and I watch and review them for you. But today, since it is the end of the oh-so wondrous time that is known as 2020, since it's coming to an end, I have an annual tradition on this channel to review all of the superhero comic book films that have been released this past year. For those of you who don't know, I'm a big superhero comic book fan, especially when it comes to the movies, and I make an effort to see every single superhero movie that comes out just because I love the genre so much. And we were scheduled to have a ton of blockbusters scheduled for release this year, but unfortunately, of course, everyone knows that this whole COVID-19 thing happened, and every movie is basically pushed forward until, by earliest, 2021. But all kidding aside, yes, it sucks that I was only able to go to the movie theater once this year, and actually one of those films is on this list. It's actually pretty high on the list, so we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. But yes, it does suck that we are not able to go to the movies, or at least you shouldn't be going to the movies, because this whole COVID thing, at least in this country, is still a huge thing, and it's still a huge problem, and you shouldn't be putting yourself into those small recycled aired rooms during a film when you can easily either just wait for it to come out on VOD or just stay at home and rent it on either HBO Max, Netflix, Amazon Prime, what have you. Does it suck, and do I have an aching to go back to the movie theaters? Absolutely. I am right there with you. I feel like everyone feels that way. I definitely understand it. But we also have a duty to ourselves and to our fellow neighbor to keep them safe and to keep yourself safe. And the less time that we spend out and about in enclosed spaces with people, even though you are 6 feet apart, still having a mask and breathing inside of a room, inside of a theater, there's a potential risk there. So anything that can be done to see it on VOD and at home, I think it's something to appreciate. And usually I get this list and video published a little bit earlier in the year, that way I have time to celebrate the holidays, but Warner Brothers and HBO Max decided, hey, we have this huge film called Wonder Woman 1984 that we've just been pushing back and back and back and back, and we don't want to do that anymore, so we're going to release it on Christmas Day. God damn it. There's no way I can't do a best superhero film of 2020 list without talking about Wonder Woman 84, so I finally watched it, and here we are checking it out. Where does it fall on the list? Well, we're about to find out. I grasped at so many different straws, and I was able to pull together 10, that's right, 10 superhero or comic book films that were based on things that originated in a comic book, or films about people that have superhuman abilities. I managed to scrap up 10 of those that were released in 2020, and I've ranked them all, and oh boy, some of them are chores to get through, others were a complete delight. So let's get into it. This is my personal ranking of all of the superhero films that were released in 2020. Starting off at number 10 is the WWE Netflix film that came out very early this year called The Main Event, and it's a piece of shit. The film follows a very young kid who loves WWE wrestling, and he's bullied a lot at school, and he stumbles upon this lucha libre mask at an estate sale, and when he puts it on, he gains superhuman powers and superhuman strength. And how does he decide to use that superhuman strength? Well, to become a WWE wrestler. With great power comes great responsibility. I had to stop and start this film so many times in like 5-minute intervals. That's how much I could take of this fucking thing. It's written, produced by WWE Studios, so every single line, it's basically a self-promotion for their product. Hey kid, are you gonna watch WWE Raw tonight? I can't wait to watch WWE superstar Kofi Kingston kick the crap out of his opponent! And then the conversation at lunch at their elementary school. Okay guys, it was just announced. Tonight it's gonna be New Day versus the Uso. Who you got? In what world are you excited to see The New Day versus the Usos? We've seen that match, I am not kidding, hundreds of times. Yes, they are the two best tag teams in WWE right now, but you've seen them before. How are you this excited about them? And that's the whole movie. Every time they get a chance, it's WWE Superstar, or check out WWE Raw, WWE SmackDown. It all just seems like it's par for the course to entertain and appease a certain a certain executive of the company who should have stepped down, but definitely has not stepped down, at least when it comes to creative. I forget what his name is. I think it's like McMillan? McMin? Name escapes me. At number 9 is a film based on a Vertigo comic called Bloodshot, starring, of course, Vin Diesel because he looks like the guy from the comics. And the concept here is really cool. He has like these nanobites or nanotechnology in him that heal him. It's in his blood and it kind of moves around and heals and turns him all pale, at least in the last scene of the movie. But this corporation erases his mind and then sends him into a mission to make him think that oh, he's living a normal life, and then all of a sudden these terroristy thingies happen to him, and he goes out and seeks vengeance, and he takes them out, and then they erase his mind, and the process all begins again. Basically, this film is another in a long line of films, Fast and the Furious, that are created and are scripted just to feed Vin Diesel's ego of how cool and badass and how ripped and action-y star-y he is. Hey guys, let's just give him all the cool, like, action lines because then he's gonna be happy with us. That is all this movie is. Is there a solid story here? Yeah, I think it's buried in there somewhere, but all I'm seeing in the foreground of the screen is just praise towards how cool Vin Diesel is. Just giving him the chance to be a cool action hero and to say really cool lines like this. When he's tied up to the chair and his girlfriend is shot, "I swear I will find you and I'm gonna kill you for what you've done." Really? You're gonna find me and kill me? You're tied to a chair. I have a pistol. I can easily just shoot you. Right now. But you say that you're going to find me and kill me? Really? We're going to give this guy the Taken line? Is that what's happening here? Jeez. Bloodshot. Is it cool in some parts? Yes, but it's definitely forgettable. I watched it back in March, and I can't remember a dang thing. Except I remember the really hot guy from Outlander's in there. So that's cool. At number 8 is a film that came to Disney Plus in September of 2020, a film called Secret Society of Second-Born Royals. A film that is comprised of a bunch of Disney Channel actors and actresses who have grown up and are now in their late teenage years. So when it comes to the acting performances, what are you expecting, really? There's a lot of teenage angst and a lot of attitudes in this film. And I don't feel like I'm saying that as a curmudgeon older dude like myself, and I can say older dude because there's gray in this beard. I can say that. But a lot of the attitude that we see in this film are really, I feel, choices that are being made by the actors and actresses, and there was a ton of it, which makes me, as an audience member, feel that, oh, is this the only emotion and the only reaction that you can give us? It's just complete attitude and sarcasm, because it gets old very, very quickly. The concept I really like, though. We have a bunch of these teenagers who are second-born in a long line of royal families. You have the king and queen, and then you have the firstborn that is going to ascend to their power, at a certain point, or when the king and queen pass away. And then if you have any other children, say a second-born royal, they're just kind of there, and they don't really do much. Oh, but they do things behind the scenes, because for whatever reason, second-born royals have superpowers. They never explain why they have superhuman powers. They just do. Apparently it's in the royal DNA to skip a child and go into the second-born one. I don't know. There was actually a twist in here that I didn't see coming, so I was a little surprised there, but everything else here, it's pretty paint by numbers. Hey, you have superhuman abilities. Oh, but I don't want them. Oh, but now I do want them because we're family again. Storyline. Next up at number 7 is a Norwegian film by the name of Mortal. A movie about this guy who roams the countrysides of Norway, and he has basically every power ever. Lightning, fire, premonitions, super strength at some points. The guy can just really do anything. But he doesn't know why he has these powers. I'll give you a little hint. There's a guy with a lot of powers. The film takes place in Norway. A lot of Norse mythology happens around this area on the planet. Make the connection. It's a mystery origin story that at points is very intriguing. Other points you're just kind of thinking, okay, let's just kind of move along. But what I'm intrigued with is all of the beautiful shots of the Norwegian countryside. Oh my god, this place is gorgeous. Beautiful mountains, beautiful lakes. You have cities that are built into the side of mountains. I want to go to there. And there are a ton of shots, a lot of drone shots, helicopter shots of just Norway. And I'm okay with it. Short little dialogue. Oh, I'm so depressed because I have powers and I don't know why. And then beautiful countryside. If I could recommend that film in any way, shape, or form, it's because of all the exterior shots. The plot, the story, though, I think you have a better time watching the Thor films than watching this one. At number 6 is a film that I'm so shocked that I'm actually finally getting a little time to talk about because it's been on my list for every single year that this channel has been in existence, so I'm finally getting a chance to talk about it because it finally came out, The New Mutants. A film that had 5 different release dates. It had one in 2018, and then it was pushed back to 2019, and then later in the year in 2019, and then they're like, no, this film's gonna interfere with X-Men Dark Phoenix, so we can't let that interfere with that big blockbuster, so let's move it to 2020. And then 2020 happened. Now finally, with films not going to movie theaters, and if they are going to movie theaters, it's for a very limited screening, so why not just kind of put it out there, right, Disney? Yeah, we bought Fox and we have this movie, and it's contracted to have a theatrical release, so here you go. Thanks, COVID. Really, it's the only way that it could have won opening weekend box office. I mean, it's the only way this movie would have done well. And this film got a lot of hate and a lot of criticism towards it, which is all warranted. After watching it, though, I'm thinking, it's okay. I like the ambition behind it, and do I wish we would have gotten more from these characters? Some of them, really. Others, I would rather not listen to another word out of their mouths. The guy from Stranger Things is doing a Texan, Boston accent that points. I don't know, it's kind of whatever he feels like. And then Anya Taylor-Joy, who I was extremely disappointed with because I've seen her in so many other things and have loved her ever since. All of a sudden she's here doing this terrible Russian accent, and she has powers cuz? I know her character in the comics is Colossus's sister, so the whole metal arm thing, okay, that makes sense. But then she has this magical sword and this magical dragon, and then she can teleport because convenience, and she can teleport to this place called Purgatory because convenience. And the moral of this film is, and I didn't know this, but did you know that everyone has 2 bears? One bear is mean and vicious, and the other bear is kind and gentle. Did you know that? I'm gonna call bullshit on that concept because in this film we only saw the one bad bear. Maybe if we would have gotten sequels, we would have seen the good bear eventually. Probably not, and we ain't seen a sequel to this. This is put out there, and then it's completely forgotten about. At number 5 is an Indonesian film that was actually released in 2019, but it was released here in the United States of America in 2020. Don't at me, I'm trying. It's a movie called Gundala, or Gundala. I'm not sure of the exact pronunciation or the correct cadence I'm supposed to take with that, but it was actually a pretty cool Indonesian film. And I say that like I've seen so many Indonesian films. A really cool origin story about this kid who kind of had a connection to thunder and lightning and thunderstorms. His parents get murdered, and he grows up to know a bunch of martial arts, and he finally sums up the courage to take down the big mob bosses and corrupt politicians in his city. And he finally embraces his fear and welcomes the lightning to strike him whenever he needs extra power. Basically, and I really don't mean this as a critique and throwing shade at it, but if you've seen the film Batman Begins, it's this film, but in Indonesia. We have the same color palette, we have the same beats in the story. There is a moment where he's embracing the lightning striking him, and the music that we hear swells up like the Hans Zimmer score from Batman Begins. Not kidding you. Beat for beat. it's that movie. But I guess it's the first in their connected superhero universe that is just getting started, because we have little teases and little hints of, oh hey, there's someone that supposedly looks to be like another superhero that's going to get her own film. And oh hey, we're digging up something over here that, oh, this is going to be like the big baddie villain once we get to the big Avengers team-up film that all these characters are going to meet in. And supposedly they have it planned out, but again, with 2020 and this whole COVID situation, we ain't gonna get the next installment anytime soon. But I think it's a really cool first entry, and I'm excited to check out when the next films in the universe come out. Again, proof that people just really love when films are connected in any way, shape, or form. And if a superhero film is not connected in some way to the other ones that are part of the whole, DC universe or Marvel universe or whatever universe that you're in, if there's no connection, people just go crazy. Number 4 is a film that came out over the summer on Netflix, a film called Project Power, an original superhero film where you have these capsules that have little molecules that generate a mutation or a superhuman ability within you once you take it. Some people become bulletproof, some people burst into flame, others have the power to freeze things. It's actually a really cool concept. And with that concept, they throw it into this police mystery intrigue thriller, where Jamie Foxx is on the search for his daughter. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is a rebellious cop who's not afraid to get a little dirty to take down the bad guys. An introduction to this world that I want to see more entries in. Not necessarily a connective tissue with all the films, but I definitely want to see this whole capsule pill thing in this world more. Overall, great acting, some really cool and actually very frightening and scary and sad scenes once we get certain people taking these pills. There's this woman that takes it and she has the ability to freeze things, and all of a sudden she starts freezing everything. Actually, her body starts freezing to the metal that's surrounding her, and she's breaking apart her limbs, and not by choice, but it's happening, and it's actually really, really jarring. Again, a really cool concept, and it's on Netflix. If you haven't checked it out, I definitely recommend you do so. Next up is an animated picture that was released this year. Of course, it was going to have that theatrical run. Again, COVID 2020 happened, and this film went straight to video on demand. It's a film called Scoob. Now you're saying to yourself, no, Scooby-Doo is not a superhero. These people don't have superhuman abilities. Caleb, what are you doing? Haha, this film does have superhumans in it. A superhuman by the name of Blue Falcon and his companion Dynamite. Yeah, superhumans in this film. It counts. What a fun new entry into the whole universe that is Scooby-Doo. I really like Scooby-Doo, definitely not as much as my wife. My wife is a huge Scooby-Doo fan. In her downtime, if there's nothing on, she will gladly turn on, whether it's the old version of Scooby-Doo, the newer seasons of Scooby-Doo, doesn't matter. She loves it. I think this film was really fun, really cute, and it emphasizes the need for a strong friendship, a strong bond with people. Not necessarily because you're related, but because you choose to be friends, you choose to be family. It did bother me a little bit that the majority of this film, the Scooby gang, was separated almost the entire time, but it does build up to a very satisfying and heart-wrenching climax that is definitely worth the ride. In terms of the superhero in this film, Blue Falcon, I think he's funny as shit. He has these things that he throws out to take down his enemies called F-bombs. I love that line so much. His dad was the original Blue Falcon, and he has memoirs out. One of them, I think, was entitled Just Falconing Around. I love it. I love it so much. Anytime a kid's movie like this puts in all of those little tiny quips that only adults would get, I love it. And here we are at number 2. What's it going to be? Well, for me, it's going to be Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. First thing, that title is awesome. I know when this film was released in February, it didn't do that well, and everyone was saying like, oh, it probably should have been called Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey, or it should have been called Birds of Prey Harley Quinn. Either way, that title is not good. Even though when the film was originally announced and we started getting promotional material, everyone was saying how cool the title was, so oh, hypocrisy, I love it. But this film also has a special place in my heart because it's the last film that I actually went to the theater to see. It's the only film this year that I've gone to the theater to see. Oh my god, how sad is that? And I was so pleasantly surprised with this film. Smaller budget, no big superhuman powers, there's no climax that's gonna threaten the fate of the world. No, this is just a very small, contained story about this mobster and this very crazy person who's trying to hunt down this kid who stole something from the mobster, and, you know, she dresses up in clown makeup. Kinda. Margot Robbie knows this character so well, and I just want to see so many more iterations of her taking on this character. Annie Smollett-Bell, who plays Canary in this film, I absolutely love. She was my second favorite part, I guess I would say, but she was a great standout. I loved her character. I loved her arc. I love her superhuman ability that we finally got to see at the very end of the film. Great build up to that. And the best part of this movie is, to me, Ewan McGregor as Black Mask. The choices that he made as that character, really, I wouldn't think about making those choices, and in the iterations that I've seen of this character in video games, animated films, this interpretation is really far out there, but it works so well. Is that a snot bubble? Ew. Ew, that's so gross. I changed my mind. Take off her face. Fuck! I love his character so much. I love him as this character so much. I guess we're not going to get any more of him as it, just with what happens in this movie, but he was great. Mary Elizabeth Winstead is good as Huntress. I just feel that she's not in this film a lot, really. And when she does show up and team up with everyone, it's kind of just like, okay, there. And it just happens. So it's kind of abrupt with that, but everything else about this movie I loved. Really fun and cool action scenes. This film overall is an absolute joy, and it sucks it's my last movie that I've seen in the theater, and it's probably going to be the last one that I see until by earliest mid next year if things kind of ease up a little bit. But if I never go back to the movie theaters again and that's the last one that I've seen, you know what? I'm pleasantly pleased with that. Which means that at number 1, of course, has to go to Wonder Woman 1984. For those of you out there that have been with me since I started releasing videos on this channel in 2017, you all know that the first Wonder Woman film is the reason why I started Caleb Watches Movies. That film has such a special place in my heart, so when I saw this sequel, finally saw this sequel, I was pleasantly happy, and it's the biggest blockbuster, I guess, out of all the movies on this list. How could it not be at number 1? This movie was originally supposed to be released in November of 2019, but because with the success of Joker, they didn't want to cannibalize all the potential box office that they were still generating in November, so they moved it to June 2020 because it is a big blockbuster, and this thing could have definitely done over $1 billion in the box office. And this whole COVID thing happened. Warner Brothers is like, oh, you know, what do? We can't push it back too far, because if a film is made during a certain time, if you keep pushing it back and back and back and you release it, 2-3 years after, the time that this film was being made and the references and the political intrigue that it was referencing, that could be all over with. And people 3 years from now may not get the references, or the references may not punch as hard in the gut as they should with this. Maxwell Lord, he is an iteration of the whole Trump regime that we've had for the last 4 years. If we were to wait another 6-10 months, Trump is going to be out of office. He's no longer the president, so really that whole impact of him being the villain may not have as much of a sting as we did right now. I think it's actually very cool that they released it on HBO Max. I'm not too keen on them releasing it in theaters, especially during this time when things are just so bad, at least in this country. But they are giving people the power of choice and the freedom of choice, so if you chose to go to the movies today to see Wonder Woman 1984, hopefully you were safe and you kept social distancing cues, even though if you bought concessions, hopefully you kept that mask on for the majority of the time. Getting into the movie, though, I think it's a great sequel to what I think is just a masterpiece of a first film in the first Wonder Woman. We have nice little callbacks to the first film, but we also see it transform things brand new into this iteration. It's great seeing the Amazons again. I wish, again, we would have gotten more from the Amazons and Themyscira. It makes sense that we didn't because she left, she can't go back, so that's the story that we're telling. But it was nice seeing Robin Wright again as Antiope. Chris Pine coming back as Steve Trevor. I was a little hesitant because I felt that his end in the first Wonder Woman film was just so earned and so beautiful. Seeing him with the watch saying, I wish we had more time. Just that look on his face when he shot the whole gas can and the plane went up. It was a great moment for me, and I was very hesitant on what was going to happen here with them bringing him back. it totally makes sense in the story. I know people were shitting on the whole idea and concept of Kristen Wiig playing Cheetah in this film, playing a villain in this film, and I gotta give it to her. I loved her in this movie. And the CGI for Cheetah, I was actually very happy about. When promotional material was coming out, I was saying, "Ooh, this Cheetah is not looking so good," but now seeing it on the screen and seeing it in action, I actually really loved it. And of course, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, what else can I say about her? She is gorgeous. She is perfect in this role. I love the message that this film was promoting about not taking the easy way and not cheating your way to success. Sometimes you need to take the hard road. Sometimes you need to take the road less traveled or the hard way, because that builds up character. It makes you a stronger person so that when you get to the finish line, you can actually revel in it because you've earned it. And we get the invisible jet. Patty Jenkins, she did it. I don't know how she did it, but she did it. Wow. And that is my list of all the superhero films from 2020 ranked in order, in my personal order, where I put them. I felt like I was reaching with a couple of those, but gosh damn it, I needed some. Definitely looking forward to 2021 and seeing all the superhero films that were supposed to come out this year, like Eternals and Black Widow, a couple of the Disney Plus TV shows. I know those are TV shows, so I don't think I can include them on my list for next year. Maybe I'll make an exception. We'll see what other independent films come out that deal with superhuman powers or comic book characters. So guys, that's my list. What did you think about it? What is your ranking of all the superhero films? Wonder Woman 1984 just released today on HBO Max. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? Whatever you thought, comment below. Let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit that bell so you know the next time I release my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next year in 2021. But in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.